So everything from this point on is being recorded, both whatever's on the screen and anything we say in the room. Unfortunately, not video.
No,
No, there's no video.
You can still hear the eye.
Yeah, I think they probably. So yeah, we're just gonna jump right in. We can move quickly sort of through the introductory part. But what's the point of paying for web traffic, right? You all have excellent information on your websites potentially, right? Why shouldn't people just be able to find you, right? And the point of paying for web traffic is that it's very instantaneous, not like with Google where the organic results you have to build up credibility over time and people have to link to your site. And if you put up something tomorrow on your jewelry, no one's going to see it, right? Because there's a million other websites that have jewelry on them. But you can advertise to very specific demographics based on keywords or based on the websites that people look at or based on their interests in their Facebook profile and immediately have ads displayed to those people today in 5 seconds, right? So that's a big advantage of having digital advertising. How many of you are already using digital advertising? I think we know the answer is 0. Okay, so there we go. So there's a lot to learn today, yeah.
I'm sorry, Blair. I got my email. I'm looking for this. Did you send this like recently?
Yeah, I sent it a day or two ago. Hi, how are you? Come grab a computer. And what's your name?
Tanda.
Tanya?
Tanda.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Tanda. Nice to meet you. Hey, how's it going, Rosa?
Good.
We're gonna pair you guys up. So, Tanda, do you mind grabbing one of those computers back there? We're gonna have you guys work together.
Yeah, Eric Morrow.
If you want, like,
Yeah.
oh, that's okay. I just.
If you go to ericmorrowmarketing.com, it's also there. So, Rosa and Tanda, we just got started. You haven't missed much. We're just beyond the class. But when you get settled, we're gonna have you just introduce yourself real quick. But take a minute. The computers are on. You can load up Firefox or Chrome or Safari, whatever web browser you prefer, and then just log into your Google account and log into your Facebook account. Okay. And so I know, Rosa, you already are doing some advertising, so we talk about that in a second. Oh, wait. We all caught up? You don't need the syllabus on your screen, Joe. It's not crucial. I'll have it up here the whole time. So a key distinction for online advertising is the difference between search and display. And we can just show you really quickly that by going to any website. So I assume you've all used Google, right? If you go to Google and you type in something that you're looking for example, a table, you're gonna get a big list of results, right? And these guys are called this is called a search engine results page. And Google is displaying to you what they think you want to know if you search for table or vacation in Costa Rica or any of the bazillion of things that people search for. But the big difference is some of them are ads, right? You see how it says ads here? Right, so these 3 links are ads and all the links down the right-hand side are ads. When you click this, when you click one of these guys under tables, that's free. This is an organic search. It means that Google thought this is very relevant for the person searching for table. But the ones that have advertising on them, right, these 3 and the ones on the side, for example, Pottery Barn is going to pay as soon as we click this. So this is a search page. So we click on it, Pottery Barn takes us to their website, and now Pottery Barn just paid Google, I don't know, probably $5 for that privilege. And now we're on their page. And so what search is trying to get at is you, the searcher, are looking for something very particular. The difference between that and display, right, if you go to Facebook, and you can see all my friends, right, down here on the side there's advertisements. These advertisements are not based on anything that I've searched for, right? I didn't type in, Sprint, or what's the other one? Building opportunity from banks, or what? Who knows? Those are ads that these companies have decided I might be interested in based on whatever information they can glean about me. So on Facebook, it's based on my demographic information, my age, my income, my race, where I work, what music I'm interested in, any of those types of things. And I'm sure you see, like if you look at your Gmail account, you know how there's ads on the side? That's also a version of display ads. That's based on the text that's on the page, on your Gmail page. So that's we're going to be setting up both types of accounts today, search ones and display ones. That's a huge divide in the advertising world. I'm going to move quickly, but if you have any questions, always feel free to interrupt. Are you guys all set up and comfortable? Awesome. Do you want to just introduce yourself real quickly?
I'm Tanda Francis.
Can you just tell us your name and what you're doing here?
And trying to get more like focus with my online presentation.
Okay.
So that's what
And do you have a business that you're selling products or services for right now?
I do, yeah.
Awesome. So we'll learn a little bit more about that as we go along. In fact, since both of you have actual online businesses and products, and the three of them in the front are still at the very beginning stages, I might have one of you guys switch. But let's see in a second. And Rosa?
What's your name again, sorry?
I'm Eric.
Eric?
Yep.
Do you work with finding the sweet spot or something?
With what?
Finding the sweet spot?
No.
Oh,
With,
never mind.
no. Sorry, I haven't heard of them.
Okay, alright.
My name is Rosa, and I'm here to increase my company's ROI on our AdWords accounts. I want to make them more money so I can make more money.
It's a good strategy. Yeah, so I talked with Rosa before a little bit, and she's definitely sort of the furthest along amongst all of you, so we're probably going to end up using your account to demonstrate a couple things, hopefully, and see how that goes, or at least talk about what you guys have already accomplished, because everyone else here is right at the beginning stages. Awesome. Well, welcome. So the difference between Google AdWords, Google Display, and Facebook ads, which are the three types of advertising we're going to be setting up today, our AdWords are that first thing on the search engine results page. Facebook ads are when you're on Facebook. And display is everywhere else, for example, in Gmail or on a different website. So if any of you read blogs and there's ads on those blogs, there's a good chance they came from Google. And so and those are all based on contextual targeting, which we'll get to. So those are three different types of things that we're going to be putting up today. Any questions? Awesome. All right. Perry, do you mind switching into the back row? And Rosa will bring you to the front row. Sorry for the moving around, but I think that'll be productive for we're going to be doing brainstorming, and I think that'll be useful. Unless, of course, you could just stay where you are and just talk around or whatever's easier. Would that be easier?
I tried to take some notes here. I just wanted to send it to myself.
Yeah. Okay. Why don't we just do that? And we'll rather than having like stuck groups, I'm just going to have you we'll form like a little triangle this way and like a little triangle that way and so forth. And it'll be a little weird, but it'll work. All right, so what we're going to do now, rather than starting with the tools, my belief as a marketer is that the tools are easy, right? And anyone can learn how to use the tools. The more interesting questions are, how are you going to set up your marketing campaigns? So that's where we're going to begin, and you're going to be working in groups. Let's see. Right, so our goal, and sort of for the whole class, is what we're going to do. We're trying to deliver targeted, relevant ads to a particular searcher and demographic in order to bring the searcher to your website or landing page. And what's not left on this is to sell them stuff. So here we go. Let's get started. Are we actually switching? Okay, cool. Either way.
Send something to myself.
So you can take notes on a piece of paper. You can take notes on the computer. It doesn't matter. We're going to take 10 minutes for this. So you guys in the front, you each get 3 minutes, and you guys in the back, you get 5 minutes each. And I want you to start brainstorming. What are you selling? Who is your customer? Everything you could possibly tell me, or Google eventually, about what you're looking for, who you want to come to your website, the better. Right, so I'm just going to have you guys get started. 3 of you can work together in the front, 2 of you can work together in the back, and I'll just sort of float back and forth between the two groups. And what you're trying to do is think about 3 different things for the person who's ideally going to be consuming your content, which is, if they're searching, what keywords are they using? So, for example, in jewelry, maybe they type jewelry, maybe they type homemade jewelry, or maybe they type silver jewelry in New York City, right? Try to start doing a little brainstorming about what keywords they might be using. If it's a particular demographic, is it a woman? Is it a man? Is it someone over 40 or under 20, right? Is it someone who has demonstrated interest in jewelry somehow? Or maybe they're reading a particular type of blog about jewelry. Whatever you can tell me about that person, the better off we're going to be. So, yeah, get together with your groups, and if you haven't introduced yourself already, do it again. And let's start making some lists.
We're making lists of
our own stuff.
Yeah, about your own stuff. And so I want you guys to work together. So, for example, you can tell Rosa and Joe what your business ideas are and what you're interested in, and then all of you together can come up with what keywords you think they'll be using, what demographics are they going to be in, what type of blogs might they be reading. Okay? So have at it.
I can multitask. Okay.
Yeah, you're gonna stay. All right. So I'm gonna show you a tool that you can use in Google that will help you flesh out your keywords and figure out how much traffic you have. So if you just go and Google keyword tool. It'll just be the first result. It's actually in Google AdWords as well under Tools and Analysis, but I never actually remember that until too late. So I just go here. So who wants to be my guinea pig? Any volunteers? All right, awesome. Tell me a word or phrase that someone would type into Google if they wanted to find your product or service.
Well, this is not in general, but green energy.
That's fine. We'll start broad. All right, we're not gonna put in. If you have a website, you can put it in. Perry, do you have a website that you want to put in already, or do you not have anything on?
Yes.
What's the URL?
www.greengifts.devhub.com.
Okay.
Are we going to his, or are we supposed to do our own?
You can do your own. I was just going to show you what it looks like, and then you'll type it in for yourself. So when you take this, Google is going to be looking at your page, analyzing the content on your page if you have one. Otherwise, they'll be doing it just with the keyword, right? And then you see what happens. First of all, they show you the actual keyword for green energy. They're going to tell you the competition, global monthly searches, local monthly searches, and approximate cost per click to buy this keyword. What this means is, if someone typed in green energy, right? This is the website that would. This is their search engine results page that would pop up. Right, ads across the top, ads across the side, and these are your organic results, which we're not going to be concerned with today. And then look what happens underneath it. This is the really useful part. They start giving you a lot of information about other types of words that people might be typing in, and you can sort these. So if you're most interested in where's the most search volume, right? What is energy gets 55 million global searches a month. Right, that's a lot of traffic. But you can start scrolling down, you can see the keywords electricity, solar panels.
Okay, so moving back, did you push advanced options and filters, or we just push search?
No, just search. I can show you what advanced options and filters mean, but we're not going to. Right now, the locations in the United States, language English, devices, desktop, and laptops, that sort of covers the area of what we're looking for.
Okay, no, here it is. It's in different order, sorry.
Yeah, that's fine. So what you're going to do here is you can sort it any which way you want. But the main thing that I would worry about right now, when you look at this, is what keywords are people using? It doesn't matter whether or not you think it's a good keyword. You are most interested for search in what are people actually searching. Now, if you want to advertise on words, the best way to get started is to choose things with low competition and low amounts of monthly searches, because there's going to be less people bidding on those words, right? So they're going to be less expensive. For example, I don't know what Yingle Green Energy Holding is, but that's $267, right? Which is cheaper than whatever Green Energy was $350 or something, right? So it tends to be that if there's less competition for a keyword, it's going to be less expensive to buy it. Doesn't always matter exactly that. Eventually, people figure out there's keywords that convert at a higher rate into sales, right? And that will drive up the price. But for your purposes right now, what I recommend is go into the top here. Type in your word or phrase. If you have a website that's relevant, type it in. If you don't, you can just leave it blank. It doesn't matter, right? It'll still work. And you click on search, and you get a long list of results. And what you should do is you can copy and paste them into. One second, I'll get to you. You can either just write them down, which works, Or if you're in your AdWords account already, you can just go and click on the side of them, click on the ones that you're interested in, and you can download them. Right? You can put them in a spreadsheet or whatever it is that you're interested in, save them for later. So why don't you all get started with that? Type in some keywords and start. This is sort of your brainstorming part of the class, right? What keywords could we be advertising on? What are people searching for in your market? Actually, we're going to take a quick second and introduce the newest member of class, Les. You can just say who you are and what you're doing here.
Sure. I'm Les, and I am here because I'm a consultant for a Brooklyn nonprofit, and they essentially didn't have a web presence before I started working for them. Just trying to get them one, and they got approved for Google for Nonprofits, which allows them to get AdWords for free. And I'm not sure how it works, so I'm trying to figure it out.
Free hours is pretty cool.
What is your nonprofit?
What do they do? It doesn't technically exist, so it's in a capital campaign right now, but it will be filling a vacated firehouse on Life Avenue eventually, and that will be like a community right center.
Cool.
It's really fun. Yeah, you'll be able to do some good, very hyper-local targeting.
Yeah.
That'll be useful for you. Yeah, so everyone's in. No questions? Oh, sorry, there was a question. Tanda, what was your question? It's solved? Yeah, so just take a couple minutes and I'll shut up and go search for stuff.
So when you go to download, you put in Excel spreadsheets?
Yeah, I think that's right. Let me double check. Download, selected. Yeah, so it gives you a couple options, I guess. If you want to put in Excel, choose that first one, CSV for Excel. But then there's a couple other options. But yeah, CSV for Excel will be the easiest for you to use later. Because you can upload that back into Google rather than retyping everything. And while you're all looking, a very similar tool is a traffic estimator. Right, so once again, you can type in green energy. You have to put in a max cost per click, just put in something high, it doesn't really matter. And you can estimate again, and then once again, it'll give you a long, I thought it was going to give you a long list. Why is that? Well, anyway, it can tell you about green energy. It should. Yeah, so that then you can get sort of very similar information. And if you're interested in what these other tools are, the first two tools are going to be for search. The placement and contextual targeting tool will help you when we get to display. So for the exact same thing, if we do green energy here, it's going to tell you all the different types of websites that deal with green energy and how much traffic they have. And we'll deal with that when we get to display. But just in case you're sort of bumping around and looking at things. I have no idea why. All right, any questions on using that?
So we're supposed to be just copying the thing into the Excel. So we're good now.
Yeah, you can copy into Excel if you want. The main point of this is just to get you comfortable with it. You can spend an awful lot of time working with this. Now, just sort of the process I would use, let's say we were once again doing green energy. Right? What I would recommend doing is actually going in and let's say were any of these keywords appealing to you, Perry? Were any of these other keywords appealing to you? Maybe this or I don't know, just anything in particular?
Yeah, green energy solutions, I like that one.
Green energy solutions. So what you can do is if you click on it, it takes you to the Google page, the search engine results page, and then you can start looking around. Who else is advertising? Well, New York Serta Solutions, or Green Mountain Energy, Dow.com/solutionism. All these other people are advertising on this exact same topic, and you can go in and you can see what they're doing. Don't feel bad about spending other people's money, right? We can see, okay, these are the landing pages. This is your competition, right? This is other people. So you're probably not going to be able to compete with Siemens right out the gate, right? So you're going to have to start thinking, okay, Green Energy Solutions. There's a lot of big companies advertising on it. Maybe I can find some more specific keywords, right? For example, you could type in New York because maybe that's not as intense, right? And so now we get a whole sort of like different level of results. And you can go back and forth between playing on Google and playing in here for different keywords and start getting a sense of the landscape that you're going to be confronting.
And then we download this information out.
Yeah, by clicking the download button right here.
Oh.
Ali just tried and it was really slow. That's unusual. I don't know why. It's normally super fast to download a couple keywords. If there was a million answers, it would be slow, but try it for yourself. Just click on download. You choose all or selected.
Mine said took a while, but then it was right there waiting in the bottom left, and I was just kind of waiting for it.
Oh, so it was just downloading,
It was
yeah.
already downloaded. This screen was still there.
Yeah, so it can be slow, but you can just stick with it. All right, so that's really fun. You can spend a lot of time doing that.
And in the traffic estimator, when it says the max CPC, is that cash per clicks?
It's CPC is cost per click.
Cost per click.
So that's how much you're going to pay every single time someone clicks one of your ads.
Okay, so in the traffic estimator, when we're putting the max CPC,
Yep.
what exactly does that mean?
It's not a very useful tool. It just says that if you're only willing to spend $3 or $4 a click because that's how much each click is worth to you, it won't show you things that cost more than that.
Okay.
Which for certain types of things might be useful. It's not. I don't find it terribly useful. I usually just put in a really high cost per click,
Yeah.
just because I want to see all the information.
Yeah.
Yeah. So these 4 tools here will help you figure out what keywords you should be using and what websites you're going to be advertising on for search and display. All right. So there's no questions. We are going to move on. I actually put Facebook demographic targeting in here, but we're going to get to that in a minute when we actually get to Facebook. So get out your pens or your computer word screens. We're going to start writing some ad copy. I want each of you to try to write 5 different ads, right? You all know what an ad looks like because you've searched for things on Google, but I'll show you again. Right, Green Energy. Right, so the first one here is Green Energy Solutions. This is called the title. And then the nyserdasolutions.org is your display URL. The one underneath it is your actual URL. And then this is the body of the ad. So what you're gonna generally what you're gonna get is 25 characters for the title, and about 70 characters in Google and 100 characters in Facebook for the body of your ad. All right? And then for those of you who have a website you're trying to drive traffic to, that's this thing. This is your actual URL. And then you also get a display URL. So you can see here that this is the display URL right here, dow.com/solutionism. Right? So where you actually end up going, as you see, is a much longer URL. But you don't have to, you can put down a very long URL, but only display part of it. So those are the 4 things you're going to be trying to figure out. So work with each other, start doing some brainstorming, and write some ad copy. It'll be easier if you write it on the computer, because then we're going to copy and paste it directly into the tool.
So, I'm sorry, the 25 characters is for...
The title, right? So
Alright, so.
the part that appears here in blue, and then this is the body of your ad. And then you get 70 characters for that in Google and 100 characters for that in Facebook.
Okay.
Yeah? So you guys could, the 4 of you guys together could like sort of work back and forth, whatever works in the front. Or we could, actually, maybe we could have another group of 3. Les, do you want maybe if you want to join them in the back, that might work for just chatting purposes. Or we can all, I don't know, it would be easier for, do you want to stay like all in one group, or would it be easier to like rotate so you get to talk to different people? I don't know what's better for you all.
You mean like each person goes individually and then everybody?
Yeah, no, so I want you guys to like sort of brainstorm together, because it's a lot easier frequently to think about someone else's product than your own product for some reason, because you get really close to your own material. So I like people to band together. So, and then it helps you sort of think not just about your own stuff, but how do we want to attract people to our site, and what kind of words are we going to put, right? Because with Google, we get no pictures, right? We get no movies. It's just your words. So I want you to write 5 ads for Google, which means you need a title and then you need the body.
Yeah, I like a location idea. We can make everyone's brain.
Yeah. So just sort of mingle amongst yourselves and write some ads.
Cocktails.
Yeah, that would be nice, wouldn't it?
I can,
That's also a tax one.
yeah.
Okay, so
Like when you Google it,
Yeah.
so try it, just see.
But so these are ads, and then these ones are ads. So these are people that have paid. So let's see what they paid for. Right, Home Automation Superstore. This is their landing page. They're trying to get clever. They're offering us $10 in exchange for our email address. This is a very nice strategy. When you're paying someone to come to your website, you frequently want to ask for something in return. That thing you want to ask for is generally their email address. And so offering them something for their email address is a very nice strategy. And you see how it popped up? So clearly we're going to look at it. But we're not interested. But so the important thing to think is, what was on the ad? This ad said home automation, smarthome.com, world's leading home automation expert since 1992. These things are called site links, but we're not going to worry about them right now. Also notice that because I searched for home automation is bolded. Right? This is the advantage of having the keywords in your ad text, because they get bolded on Google. Right? And once again, home automation here. So what do we think about this ad? And then we're going to look at Rose's ad. What is world's leading home automation expert since 1992? What does that tell you as a searcher?
the world's leading for.
Okay. World's leading is trying to indicate to you that they're trustworthy, right? Other people use these people. What else do we know from this ad?
They've been around for a while.
Yeah, they've been since 1992.
4 out of 5 stars, pretty good.
Right, so this thing means that they've been reviewed on all sorts of places. Let's see if we could actually figure it out. Usually there's a list. Oh yeah, here it is. Right, so there's different places that you can review things online. BizRate, Google Checkout, Price Grabber, reseller ratings, whatnot. That all gets aggregated. So we see 4.5 stars. They're world's leading since 1992. This is a pretty nicely done ad. It's telling us that we can trust them. It tells us that they've been around for a while. And then Google also throws this nice little thing in here. Another reason it's good is because it matches the keyword, right? And then smarthome.com is they actually put this in the ad text along with their URL, so you see it twice. Okay, so let's compare that with what Rosa wrote. All right, so smart homes in New York City. What is a smart home and why do I want it? What is this telling a consumer? You just searched for home automation, right? That was our keyword. And this popped up. What's good about this ad? What does it tell you?
Well, that home automation has something to do with smart homes.
Okay. Do you know what a smart home is?
No.
Yeah, I don't either. They might, but I don't. So that could be a potential weakness, right? Or maybe they're going to go look for smart homes after this and see what that means.
Also a little bit.
Yeah, it is. It sounds like sounds what it's already out there. It's like a smartphone. All these kinds of things where it's like a good keyword, and then we don't know what it is, so we kind of want to know what it is.
Sounds like I would want.
So you want to learn a little bit more about it. So that's definitely the direction this ad's going in, right? The question direction, rather than so remember that other ad we just looked at was saying you should trust us. We've been around since 1992. We are a world-leading expert. This is more saying, I've heard this term smart home. Why do I want it? You're trying to pique their curiosity, which is a totally valid way of advertising. How about the next one? What's this one trying to do? Home automation. This was the title, home automation? Okay, home automation, add security to your home, remote access from anywhere. I'll fix that. What's this one going? What's happening in this? What is the searcher going to be thinking when they read it?
Decide I can add security to my home remotely.
Okay, you can add security to your home, you can get it to it anywhere. These are called benefits, right? So there's a couple different things you can do in ads. The two things I like to do are explain the benefits and tell people why they won't have any pain anymore, right? So it really depends on what you're looking at. Home automation, what's a pain that people could have that they would then search for home automation? Just based on what we know in this advertisement. What do you think what problem might be someone having?
There's like a break-in or something.
All right, maybe they had a break-in. Yeah, what else?
Their alarm is malfunctioning or something.
Yeah, and so maybe they're unhappy with their current service provider, right? Why? Yeah, go on.
I was just saying maybe have tried to secure themselves their home, but they lack the time to
Yep.
do everything.
Right. See, we don't know, right? But what we're trying to do is get inside the head of someone who's typed in just 2 words into Google and trying to figure out who are they, what do they care about, and why on earth would they click my ad, right? And so this particular ad is getting at the sense of, here are the benefits that we're going to give you. We're going to add security, and you can get into into the system from anywhere and keep your house secure. So this is kind of dual purpose. Like on one hand, we're sort of getting at their pain, which is, crap, my house is not secure. And then we're saying, what we can do for you. And we all did it in, well, actually, we didn't count how many letters it is, but let's find out. Actually, I think you can drag this and duplicate it. Awesome. Yeah, so 54. So we're under, and this is 15. So home automation is a good keyword, right? Because it duplicates what the person searched for, so it's going to be bolded. Can we make this better? We got 10 characters left. What might make this title stronger? Any ideas? Don't be afraid to just shout it out. There's no right or wrong answers.
Security, like explain something of what automation is.
Yeah, maybe security, because we're getting at this ad is security themed, right? So yeah, so maybe adding security here would tip people off. This is an ad that if you're really interested in security, this is where you should be clicking. What else might we do here? Right, remember we have 25 characters here, and we get 70 characters here in Google, 100 in Facebook. What else might we want to tell them? If we had some extra space.
Easily, painlessly, I mean, it's not going to be hard to do, or...
Yeah. Right, so instead of just saying home automation, maybe we could say simple home automation. Right? Not only are you going to make your house more secure and it'll access from anywhere, but it's going to be simple to do. Right? That sounds good, right? And those characters, we paid for them anyway. You don't have to, not every ad has to be exactly 25 and 70, but if you can add something to the searcher, add something to the text to make it easier for the searcher to decipher what you're selling, it could improve your click-through rates. But this process of what we're doing here now is, we're gonna get back to it in great detail next week, because this is optimization. So what you could do is have one ad that says home automation, add security to your home, remote access from anywhere, and the other one could say simple home automation, add security to your home, remote access from anywhere, and you can see which ad does better. Whichever ad does better, you check the other one, and you can keep improving that way. Let's just look at the last one really quick. Wireless home automation, control your home from anywhere, anytime. What's going on here? What is the reader getting?
Ease.
Yep, you're getting ease because you can do it from anywhere at any time. So it's getting at the pain of, maybe I'm traveling, I can't really make sure my kids are safe at home. Who knows? Maybe the alarm didn't go on because they're 8 years old, and when they leave the house, they forget to set it.
It's not just security though, right?
No.
Right, so you can turn the TV on for someone.
Okay. So then if it's anything, control your home, what does that mean? Right, maybe, okay. But you see how we can kind of keep going and going and going and going? That what you're trying to do is just tinker with your text so that when someone who reads it, and remember that when what the person is seeing, your searcher, is seeing this, right? There's a lot of text on this screen. And you get them for about half a second, right, before they're going to make a decision and click. So whatever you're putting on that screen has to capture that person's attention in this very, very, very short period of time. So what you put in there is highly important. Let's take a look at what some other people wrote. Total home control. Serving the Hamptons in Manhattan. What's going on here? What is this person doing? What do we know about them?
It's Hamptons in Manhattan that they focus on.
Yep, so we know what locations they're serving. So if you're interested in those areas, if you typed in home automation Manhattan, for example, let's see if that pops up. Yeah, boom, and now you see how it's bolded. And now let's see how good their landing page is. Home automation and total control. So this is where they're going to take you, crescendo designs, and then you can start reading a little bit about what it actually means. All right, let's do, what time is it? 11:20. We have 5 minutes to do another example. Does anyone else want to volunteer to have your stuff looked at?
Sure.
Okay, what do you got?
All right, save thousands per year, like save dollar sign, thousands. No, I mean dollar sign, then thousand, and then apostrophe. Like I can't put the numbers in there. I can't put numbers.
Yeah, you can put numbers.
Yeah, 1000.
Oh, sorry, got it. Like this.
We'll have so many characters. Save thousands per year. Yeah.
Yep.
Per year.
Per year.
And then energy suppliers compete for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or your business. Yeah, your business.
Yeah, we have a little bit more space. What's the keyword people were searching for here?
I guess I don't know what that one. Save on energy costs. Yes, save on energy costs.
Save energy costs. All right. Let's start with that. Is that right?
Yeah, that's it.
All right. Let's have a quick look. So if you go into Google and you search for that, right? We got our ads here, and then these are our organic results. So who is spending on save energy costs? The first one, save on new construction. Comehome2savings.org, right? It's the same thing as here, it's just repeated. Save on your new build in the long run. Build a New York Energy Star registered home. Okay, take me inside the mind of someone who's searching for save energy costs. What are they interested in? What are they thinking when they're typing this into Google?
If they want to cut down their bill and the amount of money they're spending on that particular utility, maybe whatever system they currently have is inefficient.
Yep, probably. Any other ideas? I think this is pretty straightforward, right? I want to save money. So, save on your new build in the long run. So this first ad, save on new construction, what are they getting at? Is it just energy costs? There's clearly something more in that message there. What's the first ad driving at?
Well, if you're building something, you can build it from Alliance with Energy Star or...
Right. So the key thing here is building.
Yeah.
Right? This is not how to convert your existing home and save energy. It's new homes. So I would argue that this is not a very well targeted ad.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Why do you target? Because we don't know enough about people. We don't know enough about this person. Now, if it was save energy costs, new builds, right? Like for example that. Now this makes a lot more sense, right? But maybe Come Home to Savings has lots of extra money to spend on advertising. Let's see what the thing looks like. Come home to energy savings. Build a New York Energy Star home. You see what they did here? Is that this tagline is the same as what we just looked at, right? Come home to savings. So it's tying together the ad and your landing page really nicely. So that's nice, right? And then you can fill out this form and get some information, right? This is another type of landing page. Nice graphic, form to fill out if you want to save money and when you're building a home. And New York State is advertising on Google. Fantastic. So this would be your competition for save energy costs. Let's have a quick look at your ad. All right. So if someone types in save energy costs and they see your ad, tell me what this person's going to be thinking when they read it. What are they getting from your ad? You can tell me, Perry, or if someone else wants to jump in and tell me a little bit about this person. What is this ad telling them?
I feel like I would think, okay, we're going to get a lot of like quotes from different places telling me how immediately onboarding starts happening.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good, that's a good thing. But I think maybe paying content too much would be a good keyword.
Yeah. Well, this is great. This is the brainstorming part of it, right? So paying Con Ed too much.
Question mark.
And you want to use that as a keyword, or you want to use that as an ad text?
Actually, I think that sounds like a good title, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does sound like a good title. Let's see if it fits. Yeah, paying Con Ed too much. So Google has rules on when you're allowed to use question mark, exclamation points, and dollar signs.
Okay.
I don't know all of them because there's too many. But when you type it into the AdWords platform, it'll tell you yes or no.
Okay.
And then it'll tell you why. But just keep in mind that when you're using things other than literal words, that there's rules. I think this should be fine then. But for example, you can't do this. Right? Google would consider that spam. And they wouldn't approve your ad. So don't do that.
They don't want you to basically get too much attention from the punctuation.
From the punctuation, yep, exactly. They want you to live and die on your merits, not on your clever, right? Because otherwise you could do like one of these guys, like, right? Like, and that would draw your eye because it's not text.
Like Craigslist.
Like Craigslist, yes.
So yeah, all the content is really low. All the content is in keywords are very low. Competition is low.
So, great. So yeah, so what Perry's doing is very clever. He was like, okay, I wonder, now Con Ed might be a good keyword, right? So let's go to the traffic estimator, or sorry, the keyword tool, right?
So I would paying content too much.
Yeah, so you can type in Con Ed here, and then maybe paying Con Ed too much could be something, or, you know, all sorts of, whatever. Right, so so it's all very low traffic. So it could be a good place to advertise, right? And if you're advertising on paying Con Ed too much, that keyword, then your advertising can be tailored to it, right? And now it's not all glued together. So if you're advertising against Con Ed keywords, right? Let's go back to your ad text, right? This could be a great title. If someone says my Con Ed bills are too high, and that's what they Googled, then paying Con Ed too much. Oh, well, yeah, right. So now we could pitch them with, you know, save thousands. Then this could be our ad, for example.
Yeah.
Are you paying Con Ed too much? Save thousands a year. Other energy suppliers compete for your business. Fuck that Con Ed. People raping me for all my money, right? So this would be really good. Excellent. Is this starting to gel a little bit? Are you kind of playing around with it? My goal today is not to teach you to be the best AdWords writer you could ever possibly imagine. It's to start thinking about who's searching for what you're selling, how are they searching for it, and then what ads can you write to attract their attention? Yeah? All right. It's 11:27, and you've all been here for an hour and a half, so we're halfway through. Let's take like a 5-minute break. Bathroom, water is all around the corner, and then we'll pick up, and we're actually going to do some work inside the tools when we get back. Right, and you should see something like this. Anyone have? If you've never set up an AdWords account before, it's going to ask you to choose your time zone and your currency. But let me know when you're all sort of in. Any problems?
In.
Yeah, everyone's in? Because we're going to keep moving. Okay, cool. Click on campaigns. Everyone there? No problems? Okay, cool. So a campaign is made up of 3 main things. You have keywords, ad groups, and ads. Right? We've already talked about what keywords and ads are. Ad groups are just how you're structuring your campaign. And there's no right way or wrong way to do it, but in each ad group, you'll have ads and keywords. And that's how we're going to set it up. So going into, if you have campaigns already, you'll see campaigns, and then click on new campaign. Does anyone want to volunteer? Oh, well, I guess I have to log into your,
I can log in.
You want to log in? Okay, come log in.
I don't think that
I guess you have to create a campaign, like,
There you go. What's that?
never mind.
Thank you. All right, so Google's gonna give you like a crap ton of information all the time. And our job is gonna be to sort of cut through all the clutter and figure out what's actually important. Right now, we're setting up new campaigns, right? So we find a new campaign button. Do you know what we're doing?
Well, I was actually going to start a new campaign. I was working on one that I've already been working on. Is that okay, or should I start?
No, we're gonna start a new one just because it's gonna be easier for everyone else to follow along.
Okay. So you can just name it.
Just do
Home automation is fine.
What is it? Home automation.
Is fine.
So
Straightforward.
obviously, don't type in what I'm typing. Type in whatever you're gonna be doing for yourself. Right, and we're gonna call this third part. Yeah, you want to be careful because if we overlap keywords and so forth, then Google's gonna get super confused.
So this is just like for our purposes, the campaign name?
Yes, the campaign name is just for your purposes, so it should be as descriptive as possible. So a lot of people, it depends. I don't think any of you are going to be at like the $1 million a month budget, so you don't have to worry too much about your campaign names. But when you get to the point when things get really complicated, the more detail you can put and the more standardization you can put is better. So for example, rather than just calling home automation, you might call it, you might put a date on it. So what's the date today? Like the 3rd or something? So you might say this is the 3rd of, right? So that will tell me when we started it. You may want to say, I don't know, what this is going to be a $1,000 a month budget, right? You could put as much descriptive information as you want in here, which later on will help you.
And this is just for you, right?
This is just for you. So we're just going to walk through here. This is just as a reminder, this is all being recorded. So we're going to be going very quickly because we only have an hour and a half to learn how to use 3 different tools. So it's going to be half an hour for AdWords, half an hour for display, and half an hour for Facebook. It's going to be the fastest thing we've ever done. So we're going to move very quickly, but you can always go back and look at it. You want to choose your geographic location. Depending on what you're selling, it might be relevant to be North America. It might be relevant just to the United States. It might be relevant, and you can basically get as specific as you want. You can choose cities, you can choose states, you can choose counties, you can choose regions. You can say like the Northeast, or you could say Asia, right? You can say basically anything you want. What do you want for this?
Well, let's just go with New York, New York.
New York, New York. Right, and as you start typing, it'll give you all the different options. You'll click on add, right, this is a city, there's all sorts of different states, and it's also telling you your reach.
Do you want it to be super, super specific, or like I want people in other countries to be able to view my website, or for it to come up?
It's totally up to you,
Okay.
right? A consideration, for example, though, is if people click on your ad from another country, first of all, are they reading English, right, and are you going to ship to them? Right, so if you're a software company, you're like, well, I don't care. You're just going to download my software. They can do it from anywhere they want. But are you going to pack your jewelry and send it to Spain? I mean, if you are, then advertise in Spain. If you're not, then you shouldn't. What I recommend, though, is, once again, this is a really small level advertising. If you were going to be advertising on a bigger scale, you would want different campaigns for different countries and different regions, right? Because it's going to be totally different, right? You'll have different AdWords, maybe. You'll have different prices for all the different things. You're going to have different conversion rates. So then you would probably, if you were going to advertise in Spain and the United States, for example, have 2 different campaigns for that.
Okay.
That being said, it's the beginning. You don't have to worry about it too much. But so we're going to add New York, New York, and that's where we're going to advertise in. We're going to reach 13 million people.
Or is there a way you could put in like English-speaking countries, or would you have to Google English-speaking countries and then add each one?
That's a very good question. Can you advertise in all English-speaking countries? I don't know. We would have to Google it and see what the story is. I think the answer is probably no. The answer, yeah, I don't know. I know I've read it, but I don't remember. I've never actually done it. We would have to look in the book. Let's just have a quick look. Yeah, I think the way you do it, you sort of target everything and then target by English language. So you would target everywhere, but only people searching in English. I don't know if you can do it the other way around. But good question. Remind me later, we can look at it. But for now, we're just going to do New York, New York. If you're on, and this is for everybody, choose the region that is most useful for you. The easiest is just to click United States, right? So now these are two very important things, networks and devices. I recommend not doing all available sites. And you see here we have Google Search and Google Display. We're going to break these campaigns out. So we're not going to advertise on search and display at the exact same time, right? We're going to have one campaign for Google Search and we're going to have one campaign for Google Display. The reason for that is they're totally different things, right? Search means that someone typed in a keyword into the search engine and now they're indicating to you what they're interested in based on that word. Display says they're reading a blog about home automation and now they're going to see ads on that blog. So now they're indicating their interest based on the site that they're on, not the keyword they've typed into a search engine. Any question on that? And since those two things are completely different inside the person's head, we don't want to advertise to them in the same way. So we're going to do search and display. All that comes with a huge caveat, which is if you're not going to spend a ton of time and energy on this, but you want to reach the biggest number of people, then just do one thing. But for our purposes, we're going to separate them out. Another nice thing is devices. I personally only like desktop and laptop computers unless you're doing something that you think is aimed at mobile users. So if you're trying to sell pizza to people who are within 2 square blocks of this address, then yeah, maybe people will be Googling pizza on their telephone, right? You can show them ads. I think it's better to choose desktop and laptop computers just because the type of research that people are doing, and if you're paying to have them come to your site, you want them to be seated at their computer, looking at their screen, not like quickly flipping through their phone.
What about tablets though?
So yeah, tablets is a relatively new field, obviously. And so that's really up to you. Once again, I think the same thing. I think people on mobile devices and tablets are much more likely to click through really quickly and not spend any time or attention. And so if you're trying to maximize your advertising budget, I don't think it makes sense. If on the other hand, if you spent a lot of time and energy developing a mobile site that is really easy to use and has like some cool videos and whatever, and you see that people are spending time on that site, then by all means drive people to a mobile site from a tablet, right? But I think it's not the best use of money. But you can certainly do it. It's not, for most of you guys, it's not going to dramatically change your cost anyway. But I just want you to be aware of these divisions between search and display, and between desktops, mobile devices, and tablets. But for this one, do you want to show on tablets? Because we can do that.
No, we'll do it.
Okay.
That's what we've been doing, and I don't think my site's optimized
For tablet, yeah. And if you're not optimized for tablets, then you're going to be wasting money because people are going to bounce. So bidding options. This can get as super fancy or not fancy as you want. I recommend this. AdWords will set my bids to help maximize clicks within my budget, and then you put in your budget. That means you don't have to go through for every single keyword and say, I want to spend $2 on this keyword, and $1 on this keyword, and 30 cents on this keyword. Google's going to kind of do that all behind the scenes. Remember, this is budget per day. So if you want to go broke really, really, really fast, don't pay attention to your budget because Google will burn it like crazy. So I recommend making this small to start with. So it all depends on your personal level of comfort. Since you're each going to be starting with $100 of advertising credit just by taking this class, you could say $10 a day or $15 a day, because then it'll spend out by the end of the week when we come back next week and do some optimization.
You can put 50.
Right. So put whatever number you're comfortable spending.
It's not my money.
100 divided by 7.
Yeah. 13 or so, yeah. So I'm going to switch this back over to manual for a minute because a delivery method is pretty interesting. Show ads evenly over time or show ads as quickly as possible. Ads are shown on Google search every time someone types in a keyword that triggers your ad, right? So we've been talking about home automation, we're talking about green energy. Standard says show ads evenly over time. It means if you set a $50 budget per day, but you could actually spend $1,000 because there's a lot of traffic on that keyword, it means that Google's not going to spend it all down from 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock in the morning. They're going to space it out. On the other hand, you might say, I don't really care. I just want to spend this money as fast as possible, show as many ads as humanly possible in the shortest period of time, and you can choose accelerated. I just want you to know that it's there. You're not going to be using it because you're going to be doing maximizing clicks. And then
So would you accelerate it like Black Friday and you're like...
Yeah, let's just get it out.
Yeah.
And just push it.
Spend this money.
As fast as humanly possible. Yep. All right. There's a lot of... We're not going to have time to delve into all this, but But if you go back and look at it later, if you're a local business, you can add an address, you can add a phone number, you can add site links which dig deeper into your site. This is all a little bit more advanced than we're going to deal with, but just so that you know it's here. All right. And this will allow you to do some actual control over your ad. When do you want it to start? When do you want it to end? Right? We could say today, and we could say, we only want this ad to run for a week. So when we come back next week, we want it to run for a month. You say whatever you want. And remember that you told Google you're going to spend $50 a day. So you're going to spend $50 a day until your end date. So a nice way of controlling your ad spend, if you don't feel comfortable, is you could say, I'm going to end tomorrow. Right? And then you know for a fact that you're not going to be burning through cash.
And then if you decide to go back and start
change it.
back up, you can do that?
Just go back and change it. Anytime you want, you can change it.
So if you do it like that, then you have to go back every day and do it. Right?
And you have to, and then after December 4th, it's not really an optimal use of your time, but especially at the beginning, people get very surprised by how quickly they run through money. So it's good to try to keep a lid on it. And the way I keep a lid on things, especially for beginners, is set low budgets and set short dates. Because then if you forget about it and don't look at it, you don't come back surprised and be like, holy crap, I just spent $500 last week. Right, because of our automatic bidding, we're showing ads at all days and hours, but if you control your bidding, you can set it. So if you know that people shopping for your stuff tend to be between 9 and 5, right? Let's say you're selling lunch specials, you do it from 10 to 2, right? You don't need to do it in the middle of the night, waste your money. The most important thing in actually all of this is this ad delivery and rotation. What all of you want to do is click this button here that says rotate show ads more evenly. What we're doing at the beginning while we're trying to optimize our ads is we want to see which ones are working and which ones aren't working. If you optimize for clicks or conversions, Google is going to only show the ads that they think are performing the best. And you're not going to get a true sense of which ones are working and which ones aren't working. Google can decide for you. Since that's actually probably fine for everyone in here, but for our purposes of optimizing ads next week, we need them to all have shown evenly. So make sure you click on rotate show ads more evenly. Right, and they tell you your ads will not perform as well, and that is true. Because if you have one ad that hasn't gotten any clicks through 100 impressions, it might not get any click through 1,000 impressions. But we want to know that for ourselves so we can make our own decisions. Yeah?
And the ad scheduling, so we had to have a manual. So how can we make it so that we can see what kind of hours we want to put it on?
So what you can do is you'll be able to look back later and see how your ads did throughout the day, and then if you found that at certain times that your ads are performing better and you want to target at that time, you can do that. And if you want to play with all these settings, you have to do manual.
Okay.
And the reason we're not doing that is for all of you, it's not really going to make much of a difference, and it adds a lot of legwork.
Okay.
Right. So for the most part, we're going to let Google Optimize. It's actually fine as you move forward. It's actually going to be totally fine to use one of these optimize for clicks or conversions, which we'll talk about next week. But for us to optimize ourselves, we need to use this particular setting.
Okay.
But yeah, going forward, Google's taking a lot of the legwork out of it, so you'll need to do that. Demographic bidding we'll talk about when we do display. The same thing, display and display. So these last things are display. So just as a quick recap, when you're setting, right now we're setting up a search campaign. You need to choose your location, choose your language, make sure you choose only search. I personally prefer desktop and laptop computers unless you have an explicit reason for doing something else, which I don't think anyone here does. Right? I prefer letting AdWords maximize clicks, set your budget, and then set your end date. When do you want your end date to be, Rosie?
We can do it, let's just do it the full week, and that way
Okay.
I can have it be forever.
Yeah.
Could you, let's do it so that it's security, so that it doesn't overlap with the other home automation campaign I have going. At the top.
Sorry, say that again.
For the title, can you put security home automation? So that,
Like this?
I'll just make this a little more.
A little more specific.
Yeah.
For the scheduling?
Yep.
Is it, you said to do the all days and hours, or that's the only option?
That's the only option in automatic bidding.
Oh, okay.
So if you could get basically so this is actually a good sort of broader point, not just about this particular setup, which is Google lets you get unbelievably granular, and you can spend all day setting things up, but it won't have any impact on the bottom line, or the impact will be really marginal. And so we're going to talk about this. What if when you're optimizing, there's a million reports you could look at, and which ones should you be starting with? Which ones are useful? Which ones are not? And that's what we're going to go through all next week. But don't get caught up in the nitty little gritty, right? Because you can spend forever doing that. Google loves to have lots of little tools. Mostly, it's totally fine just to tell Google, run my ads, run them all the time, spend my money, and then just you're going to optimize for ad text. That's really the only thing that's relevant for the vast majority of people. If you have $1 million budgets and the rest of it you want to get a little bit more granular, that's fine. But especially as beginners, don't worry about that. It'll work out. Any other questions on this? Yes.
Because my site is not really up and running, I'm not really going to follow through with this at this moment.
That's fine. So what you could do is, just set a budget of like $1 and, and say, or if you don't want to run it all, you just say start date, put it next week or something. The problem is if you don't put these in, it's not going to let you set it up. So for the time being, if you want to choose a small budget or choose a start date that's in the future or something, we can go through and set it up, and then, or if you don't want to do it, you can just follow along on the screen.
Okay. I mean, is that silly? I just feel like
It's really whatever you
I
prefer.
have nothing on my site, so it's like it'll be misleading if people do go to the
Any
site.
questions, just do it in the future so that you're setting up now.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what I would recommend.
Set it up now.
Yeah, so click start date, oops,
And
and choose a future date, like say like the 21st or something, and then just go through the exercise of setting up. I agree with Rosa, it'll be more useful.
yeah, and that way when you get to that point, it's already like there.
Okay. Thanks.
We
All right.
actually put our keywords in.
We're going to get to that in just a second. So remember what I said before that we have campaigns, ad groups, ads, and keywords. So it's sort of the 3 layers of how we're setting up our account. And this is the first layer of the campaign. So we're setting up all these different things that apply to the whole campaign, like when's the campaign run? How much are we going to pay for the campaign, right? How are we optimizing the campaign? That's the first level. And then we're about to dive into the rest of it. Okay, so thanks for asking that question. Here we go. Now we're going to put an ad group. An ad group, the best way to think about it is a tree. You're going to set up a hierarchical structure for your campaign. So remember the campaign was home automation security. And now we have ad groups. We'll probably just create one for the time being, but you can't literally have as many as you want, but for all intents and purposes, you can have as many as you want. And so one ad group might be home automation security in New York City. Another one might be home automation security in a different geographic market, like DC. Or maybe it could be home automation security for the Upper West Side and home automation security for Battery Park City.
Could we also do some remote
Yep, so you get, exactly.
wireless automation security?
Exactly. So home automation security is the campaign, and then we're just getting more detailed inside of it. So it could be wireless or remote or any of those other different options. So what do you want this ad group to be?
We'll do remote security.
Remote security.
I'm making notes for home automation.
Yeah. So I'll just put it in the parentheses so it'll be easier if you end up looking at ad groups rather than just by campaigns, right? And now we're gonna. So all of you should obviously not be typing in what we're typing, but be typing in whatever it is that you're advertising, right? So whether it's for your community center, whether or not it's for your jewelry, or whether or not it's whatever it happens to be. This is where you're going to go and grab your headline. And so I think I still have your, oh, well now I don't have it anymore because I signed in as a different thing. Tell me your headline again. Rosa?
Let's see. Simple home automation. Add security to your home.
Oops. Yep.
Remote access from anywhere. Google says that you should make each word capitalized.
I would not recommend that.
Really?
No, it's hard to read. Think about reading a book with each word being capitalized. Now, so this is a great opportunity. What we could do is we create 2 ads, run them side by side, and see whether Google's right or Eric's right. Because one of them will perform better than the other. I personally don't like to feel spammy or annoying or loud or yelling, even if it does catch someone's eye, just because it's not my personal preference. But yeah, if it does improve your click-through rate and your conversion rate, then by all means we can do it. But the best way to do it, and this is kind of the fun of digital marketing, is if you ever have an argument with someone about which ad is better, just run both of them, and you'll see which one succeeds. So something to keep an eye on. You see this little gray bar over here? As you keep filling in Word, you see how I can't go any further?
Yeah.
That's because I'm out of space.
But
Right, so you get 70 characters split over the 2 lines. Right, and it's showing you this ad down here, how it's going to look. So what do you want your display URL to be?
It's funny, so I could technically put whatever there, right?
It can't be misleading.
But if it said like www.cloud9smarthome.com, even though that's not our actual website,
That's fine, as long as it's not misleading. Like this?
Yeah.
Yeah, but maybe with a D in it. So there's lots of options here. Some people like to type in www. I don't. I think it doesn't add anything. Right? You can see how it looks at the bottom. I think this is better.
Oh yeah, it makes it more clear.
Yeah, it makes it more clear. I also recommend, this is a nice little trick, you put a slash here and then type in your keyword again. Oops, but we ran out of space, so never mind. That's too far. Maybe,
Simple security.
yeah, you could do home automation, you could do simple security, right? You could test different things. This allows you to squeeze in a couple more words, right? And and you can see down the ad that it pops up there. I think you actually have to put your real destination URL, which is what?
I actually don't have a landing page for this, but I'll make one before next week. In the
Okay,
meantime,
we'll just leave it as is.
www.c9ny.com/demo.
Okay,
so you don't want the display and the destination to be the same thing, or?
it can be. It's totally up to you. Remember that the destination URL is not seen. Only display URL is seen. The destination URL can also be really long. Basically the reason that there's a difference between display and destination is that a lot of people use something called query strings, right? Well, we're not going to go through it. It's not really that relevant. But it allows if you have an analytics package to track where your traffic came from, and that tends to be really long. And so Google gives you the opportunity to put that in. I think the destination URL can be like 135 characters or something, whatever it is, longer than we need. Everyone has something like this on their screen. So just remember, Google will tell you pretty obviously if you screw up because it won't let you put any more stuff in. Or not if you screw up, but if your ads are too long. And here's where we add our keywords. If you have keywords, you can copy and paste them in. What keywords do you want here for the time being?
Wireless home security.
Okay.
Security automation systems.
Okay. Well, you can go back and edit it later. But so what you want to do is put all your keywords in here. If you're interested, they have the tool right here again for estimating search traffic. There was an error with your operation. Awesome. Okay.
So you can put as many as you want there?
You can put as many as you want. And you can always go back and edit your campaign, your ad groups, your keywords, and your ad text at any time. We're just creating our first one right now. Then you click Save. Voila, here we go. Let's take a look at our account structure. All online campaigns. The campaign we're interested in is home automation security. This is a group inside of it, right, called remote security, home automation. Inside this ad group, we have 2 keywords. And if someone types in wireless home security,
How can they know what high quality score is just like that? I don't understand that.
well, usually you have a quality score of 7 when you start.
But mine's 3.
Yeah, because your account has already been existing, so they know it. They know that it has not been performing so well. Sorry. Right? And then, and here's the ad. If someone types in one of the keywords that appears in our list of keywords, right? One of these 2 guys, you'll see our ad. Does that make sense? So you see how there's 3 levels. You have the campaign at the high level, ad groups. So campaigns contain ad groups, and ad groups contain keywords and ads. Congratulations, you now know how to set up AdWords. Any questions? Since we're running not very quickly, I'm not going to have you enter in all your stuff now. If you understand, bless you. If you understand how to enter in your stuff, you can now click on new ad, right? You can go keywords, you can click on add keywords. If you're in the actual, this is if you're in the ad group. If you're in the campaign, right? You can go here and click on ad groups and click new ad group, and that will allow you to add more of all the different things that you want to add. And what happens when we come back next week is these things will start getting filled up, right? There'll be impressions, we'll get click-through rates, and we're going to go through all that next week when we talk about optimization. So far, so good? Awesome. We're gonna keep racing along like crazy. Since this campaign's not really ready to rock, I'm just gonna pause it. Okay, and you can start it when you fill it all in. Right, and if all of you, I would actually recommend this for all of you. If you didn't choose a start date that's later than right now, right, like tomorrow, for example, if you have a start date happening now, pause your campaign because it's not ready, unless you're ready to have it go. In which case, these ads, unless for whatever reason they get denied, will be on Google probably in less than 5 minutes. Right, so this is the beautiful part about about search advertising, is that it just happens, and now they're going to be everywhere. And someone right now probably is typing in home automation security, so we can get impressions and start getting people to our website almost immediately.
All right, so with the new ad group, we type in, do we highlight or check the ad, and then we do what? Or
Sorry, I didn't quite understand your question. What do you want to do?
let's say it says remote, right? It says remote, so that's the ad.
This is the ad. So here you can see across the top it says ad group. So we're in this right now. If you look at the top, you can follow the breadcrumb trail, and it says we're in campaign home automation security, right? So that's our campaign level, and inside campaigns are ad groups, and inside ad groups are ads and keywords.
Okay.
If I had a piece of paper, I could draw for you, but it's kind of like a tree. Imagine the campaign at the top; it branches into ad groups and branches into AdWords and into keywords and ads. And if you want to add anything, you just go into the level that's one above it. So if you're in campaign, right, you see how you can add ad groups. And if you open up this ad group by clicking on it, you can now add ads and keywords.
Would you go back, because I just finished making putting the keywords in.
Yep.
The one before, and then I put save.
Yep, save.
And then I match this thing, add keywords. I'm
Yep.
right there.
You should be here, right?
Yeah, okay. And
Yep.
what do I do here?
What would you do here?
Yeah, from here, what do I do? Am I clicking on?
Depends on what you want. It depends on what you're trying to accomplish.
Okay.
So what are you trying to do?
The next step.
The next step. Oh yeah. So the next step would be if you didn't pause it, you're done. The ads are going to run.
How do you pause it?
You go up to when you're in the campaign level. You go up here and it says pause. Right. Yours will have a green dot that says enable, and you can pause the campaign. You can actually pause anything you want inside, and you can pause a campaign, you can pause an ad group, you can pause an ad, you can pause a keyword, but that's all next week for optimization. Right, and so anything you want to add, just go into that. If you want to add new ads, go into the ad group and add new ads to that ad group, right? If you want to add new keywords, go into the ad group, add new keywords.
Okay.
If you want to add new ad groups, you go into the campaign.
Okay.
Those are sort of the levels.
Okay.
I should have had a picture. That's a good idea for next time. I'll have a little picture of how it all sits together. Yeah, so as you go along, you can add more campaigns, you can add more ad groups, you can add more ads and keywords, and just, you'll get a feel for it as you go along, but what you're trying to do is group things in a way that makes sense. So for example, in one ad group called, what is this one called? Remote security, you probably don't want to have a remote security keyword and then a clean air keyword. Right, because you see how those two things don't make sense. You wouldn't want the same ads displaying for both those keywords, right? And the same thing kind of for campaigns. You kind of want things to group together in a way that makes sense. Any questions on this? Awesome. We are going to now create a new campaign, right? So if we go click on campaigns, we can, click on campaigns here. We can click on new campaign. And what we should have done, so let me go back and edit that really quickly. We call this home automation security, but we didn't tell us that this is a search campaign. So we're going to edit it to say search. You can do that for yourselves, because we're going to have different search and display ones. Right, so now we're going to start a new campaign. And now we're going to advertise the exact same thing, home automation security. And now we're going to call this display, though. Everyone with me? Okay. Once again, you have to choose all the exact same things. So we're going to, if we want this to be New York, type in.
This is display, right?
Yeah, this is display. And remember the difference between search and display, right? Search is if someone goes into google.com and types in a keyword. So now you're advertising on that keyword. And display is if they're looking at any property on the website, whether it's Gmail or whether it's a blog or New York Times. All these different places have ads on them, right? English is fine. So here, now you have to choose the opposite of what we chose before. So now we're getting rid of Google search, and we're just going to choose display. Same thing with devices.
We're going to do broad and not. Why would you broad versus specific?
Broad, because when you're optimizing later, you want to cast as wide net as possible at the beginning, and then later on we would target down. If for like someone in your position where you have an account that's already been active, yeah, you would probably start with specific and choose both placements and keywords. But right now, we're happy if a keyword essentially on the page matches what we're looking for. That'll be good enough to start with. Do you want to use? We can use yours as specific if you want. Same thing here. I think desktop and laptop computers are the best converting in general, unless you have a specific site set up for mobile and tablets. If you do, then by all means, show them. Actually, while we're here, obviously tablets are a hugely growing population. So it's going to be something to consider in your advertising as you move forward, that people will probably be looking at stuff on tablets and mobile. For Les, who's just stepped out, mobile might actually make sense. If people are on their phones and in the neighborhood and looking for, what to do this afternoon or cool cultural events to attend, right? That might actually make a lot of sense for him.
Why wouldn't we just choose all of them?
You could choose all of them, but it might mean that you're delivering ads to people who aren't interested, right? Or you might mean you're delivering ads to people who don't have time to look at them, right? So if someone's typing in design and they're at a dinner table with their friends and they're just quickly browsing through things, you don't want to spend $1 on them and they spend half a second on your site. You want them like at home on their computer, sort of a little bit more engaged. Right, once again, we're going to choose set my bids automatically, choose a budget, whatever you want, 50 again. Yeah. Right, we don't get to choose this, it's evenly over time. We're not going to worry about these guys. We'll set the end date again. So you're basically doing the exact same thing that you just did before, right? But we'll do one thing differently when we get to the end of it. But in just one moment. Right, you're going to want to rotate to show ads evenly. Since we're setting a budget cap, we don't really need to set an impressions cap. But the difference between search and display is that you're going to get a lot more impressions on display because there's a lot more page views being delivered. So if you only want to get 10,000 impressions or 15,000 impressions or whatever it happens to be per day to control your expenses, you could go in here and do that. But we don't need to do it.
Well, what's an impression?
An impression is anytime your ad is seen, or anytime your ad is delivered.
Okay.
Right, so on the easiest way to think about it is on a search page, if someone typed in green energy and your ad appeared on the side, regardless of whether or not it's clicked, it's been displayed, and that counts as an impression. Okay. So now these last 3 settings are interesting because we're doing a display. So you can do demographic bidding, which you don't need to worry about right now. I think it's better just to let your ad run and generate some impressions, see how it goes. But you can certainly go in here and choose some basic demographics, male or female or ages. The problem is on the display network, it's not quite as useful as on Facebook, which we're going to get to next, but it's certainly possible.
How do they know how old people are that are trying to?
I mean, they don't, is the short answer, which is why I don't make great use of it, but you can sort of say if someone's reading Men's Health, right, that's a different demographic than someone who's reading Cosmo.
What if someone's logged into their Facebook and the demographic is already out there?
If someone's logged in through their Facebook account, into a site that also uses Google advertising, then, and Facebook is passing along the information, then it's possible, but...
Oh, so maybe Google does that for everyone that has Gmail.
They might.
So then they can okay.
You're getting rough guesstimates. It's nowhere nearly as precise as Facebook. Facebook is spot on because everyone who's on Facebook has told Google, most people have told Google how old, I'm sorry, not Google, have told Facebook how old they are, what sex they are, what race they are, all these things. So you just click through the boxes, you probably didn't think about it when you first signed up. You can do, I'm highlighting it for you. If you want to play around with it, it's certainly possible. Usually what people think is if the big circle is everyone, a demographic will get you to the right people, but you're going to be leaving out people in that same demographic who Google's not aware they're in that demographic. Does that make sense? Right? So it's kind of a sense, if you're trying to control your expenses, you really just want to make sure you're getting the exact right people, then it's a possibility. I don't personally use them very much, but it might be. So this one just shows +1. There's no reason not to include it. And this is kind of what we mentioned before. We'll talk about what placements mean in just a moment. But we're going to do. We're not going to change that for the time being. So for our intent, for our purposes, during this particular class, we'll get back to it next week when we do optimization. It's essentially the exact same thing as what you just did for search. Then you click on save. You have to create your ads. And it actually is good to have different ads running on display and running on search because you're getting people in a different mindset. And frequently on search, you want to be a little bit more subtle, right? Because they're looking, there's a lot of competition on the page for their attention that are all sort of serving the same ad. But when you're on display, let's imagine you're on a site about green energy. Now your ad has to like jump out and grab someone's attention, right? Because otherwise they're just reading the content. They're not reading your search engine page looking for someplace to click. They're reading whatever's on that green energy page in the first place. So frequently, ads in the display network tend to be more aggressive. They don't have to be, but they tend to be. And the click-through rates are much, much lower. But for the time being, let's choose an ad group name. What do you want your ad to be? Same thing as before, what was it? Wireless security or something? I can't remember.
Wireless security.
Yeah, so you're going to put in your ad group name, the same thing as before, and then we type in our ad.
So this time we might do something like wireless. Well, could the title still be the same? Or?
Yeah, everything can be exactly the same. Let's put something in, and I'll show you how we could tweak it to be a little bit more aggressive.
So, wireless security. Control.
Sure.
I don't know if I put it on the next one.
That's fine. It doesn't have to be exactly the same.
Yeah.
You can always go back and change it. You can copy ads from one ad group to another and so forth. But
Yeah.
we're just putting in something to start.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's say, is your home secure? Check your locks remotely.
Oops. We don't have enough space, so we'll put it on 2 lines. All right. And the display URL we'll do, what's it, Cloud9, right?
Yeah, that's nice.
Security. And then c9ny.com/demo for the time being. Okay. So one way that we can make this a little bit more impressive is instead of saying, is your home secure, I'm sorry, not impressive, aggressive, is instead of saying, is your home secure, like your home may not be secure enough. Right? We're coming to get you, or whatever.
Crime rates up.
Yeah, exactly. Crime rates up, make sure you really secure your home. Exactly, you got the idea. In display advertising, I recommend being, within reason, more aggressive. Because you're really trying to draw someone's attention, rather than in search engines where you already have their attention, right? Because they're scanning the results. So anyway, you'll type in what you want. Oops, did we do something wrong? Display, oh, this is too long. Whoops. Okay, we'll just type wireless for the time being. Add our keywords, right? So what do we want? Wireless security.
Wireless home security.
Let's just put 2 in for the time being. What else?
Home automation security.
Okay. All right. So this is now the interesting part. See potential placements. Placements means the website your ads will appear on. And what's awesome is we can go check them out. So this one looks good. Alarm systems reviews. Okay. Wow, this website really sucks.
Yeah, this is terrible.
But it's actually really good. This is a good thing. You might look at this website and be like, holy crap, I really don't want my ads appearing on this thing. And then you will block this placement. And we're going to talk about that all next week. But you can see the ads right here. Get 4 home alarm quotes, right? Quotes from ADT, whatever. You see how this is very direct, right? Get home alarm quotes. It's not like research home alarm quotes. It's like come and get them now, which we could click on. And here's our landing page. So this site is what we call SEO spam, and they built their page to be absolutely gross and disgusting, full of text, and because it's alarmsystemreviews.com, I bet if we Google that, oops, alarm system review, I bet they pop up. Yep, here it is, first one, right? So this is SEO junk, which is sad, but it's how the web works. So you may decide that this particular placement is not for you, and there's tons and tons of options. HomeSecurityGuide.org. Your ad could appear on any of these websites, right? So wow, this one is already a lot better, right? It's clean, it's nice, it doesn't feel like spam, although it probably is. And I don't know where the ads. Oh, there's probably a blog. I don't know where their ads appear on this, but somewhere in here there's gonna be ads, and that's where your ad can appear. Weird, I don't see them. But does the concept of a placement make sense? Right? Yeah.
Like for me, something's not like Macy's is coming up and stuff.
So Macy's, I guess Macy's delivers ads. I don't know where.
It's kind of crazy. If they don't sell your product,
They'll still deliver ads. Yeah.
Okay.
And I don't know where they might not. They might have an account with Google, but they don't actually show the ads. I mean, it's all sort of. But exactly, Macy's might be it.
If you wanted to block them, you would select them. I mean, I don't need to do it.
We're not doing it now. What we'll do is, you can take placements specifically out of the running. So you can you can set up the account to do one of 2 ways: either only show on the ones I want, or show on everything except what I don't want. Right? For what we're doing now is we're not going to make any prejudgments about whether a website's good or bad. We're going to show it on everything. And if it turns out that a website's good because it's driving good clicks for you, then you don't really care if it's spam, right? It's just if it's selling stuff, it's selling stuff. So that's how we're going to set it up that way. Any questions on that? Placements? Right? What Rosa asked before is, how come we're not putting in placements ourselves? Right? And if you happen to know that Macy's is a good driver, Nordstrom's is a good driver, all the rest of it, you could just choose those sites. But since we don't know anything, we're just going to throw everything at the wall and see what sticks. So then you can click on, right, so this would be where we add that, right? Enter as many placements as you like. But we're not going to go through that right now. But if we were, for example, we could type in wireless security, and we could get ideas for where we want them placed, right? So maybe we think Webopedia is really awesome, and we put it in, and they're going to make sure to put it, that this is going to help refine our targeting. But we're not going to do that. Right now, we're just going to use everything. Okay, when you click on save, you're at the exact same place we were before. Keywords and ads. You're in an ad group. You can go up here, and now you're in the campaign, right? And this is our display campaign. So if we look at all online campaigns, now they'll see the 2 we just made, right? We have home automation security third word search, and home automation security third word display. We're going to pause this one for the time being too, so that Rosa can go back in later and play around with it. Get it exactly right.
How come you can't delete things? How come it just says deleted like that?
Oh, you mean like actually removed?
Yeah.
You can remove things, I believe, if but you have to like take an extra step. I don't remember what that step is. I don't know why Google decided that they don't want you to delete things, but you certainly you can. It's kind of like a delete forever button, and they don't want you to do it.
I don't understand it. I'm
what their logic is for that?
Well, like, why didn't you have the delete option then?
Yeah, instead of calling it like archive or something.
Yeah.
That I don't know the answer to. But it's a very good question.
I don't like it though, because then I feel like if you make a mistake and then it gets messy, and I just want it to be like clean, you know.
There is a way to do it. I don't remember. The problem is that you don't want to be using the GUI, this graphical user interface. So unless there's any questions, I'm going to show you guys. We don't have any time to deal with it, but I just want to highlight it for your attention. But any questions so far on what we did? You've now set up a display campaign and a search campaign. If you haven't paused them, or if you start, whenever you get started, they're going to start generating impressions, right? Which means they're going to appear on people's web pages. People will click them, right, and be taken to your website, and you will pay Google money. Pretty simple. So I would recommend to everyone, unless you're like super confident what you just did, pausing your campaigns and then going home this afternoon or tonight and really fleshing them out. Put in enough put enough keywords and put enough ads.
I didn't actually see where we need to go to in order to pause.
Yeah.
I see the pause.
Okay, so you can pause at any level. You can pause at a campaign level, an ad group level, or a specific keyword or ad level. I recommend that you pause at the campaign level for the time being, which means you just go to the thing on the side right here. You see where there's a little green dot?
Oh, okay.
And you take that and you click pause.
Oh, I see. So it's going to
Any questions? Remember, I've recorded everything, including my voice and everything that we're doing on the screen. And when I get home this afternoon, I'm going to put it on my website so you can download it and sort of look through it again. Trying to learn 3 tools in an hour and a half is probably not the best way to do it. But I'm trying to expose you guys to as much as you possibly can learn in this short period of time, and then you're going to have to go back through and develop your campaigns more fully. We don't have time in class to develop everyone's campaign. So what you can do is if you Google AdWords Editor, there's a tool you can download that allows you to do this all offline. And it's much, much, much faster than typing, because then you can start copying and pasting things easier. You can upload from an Excel spreadsheet. So if let's say you have 10 different versions of an ad, rather than going through and copy pasting, you just upload them all through the AdWords editor. And unfortunately, we do not have time to do it, but this is what it looks like. Right, and you can see, right, this would be your display campaign, this would be your search campaign. You can see all the keywords, the placements, the ads, the ad group. Right, it's all here, it's all offline, so you can make changes without them going live immediately, which is also really nice. Because anything you do on the user interface on Google happens immediately. As soon as you click save, it's off and running in the world. This allows you to spend a little bit more time and thought on it, and you can import and export. So I don't have time to teach it to you. If you really want to learn it and you think this is awesome stuff and you get really into it, just ask the education desk to have another class on AdWords Editor. Otherwise, Google has great tools. I just want you to be aware of it. And the AdWords Editor is a much easier way of managing your account. So now you know about it, so that's cool. Any other questions before we leave Google behind and jump over to Facebook for the last half hour? Do you guys need a break, or you want to just truck on through? Yeah, no breaks. Awesome. Okay, so go to Facebook and go to facebook.com/ads, or you'll see here, there's like a little ads app. Right, and you can see, you'll be able to see the different accounts that you're advertising on. And just as an example for you guys, I put together a little advertising campaign for Third War class. Did anyone come in through my Facebook ads? Too bad. 4 people clicked on my Facebook ads. I was pretty excited about that.
If the ad app doesn't come up, is it because you don't have it?
Yeah, you haven't put it in yet. So then you'll just want to go to facebook.com/ads. Yeah, I don't think we'll all get the same page because I've already enrolled, but let's just see. Yeah, you'll probably get something that looks like this.
We have to create an ad.
Yep, so you'll create an ad. Okay. Does anybody want me to do it on my computer for them? Or you just want to do it all on your own computers and you'll follow along?
Is this gonna go live though? Like,
It can go live, but once again, I'll show you a way that it doesn't have to. We'll set a different start date. So I asked Facebook for credits for you guys so that you could do some free advertising, and unfortunately they said we don't do that. So if you're eager to get started, then you have to put in your credit card to get going. The secret is if you create an ad and leave it sitting in your account for a couple weeks, they'll give you a $50 credit to get you started. So it depends how much of a rush you're in. But if you're happy to wait for a couple weeks, they'll probably send you a credit to try to get you moving. So here we go.
what? That's stupid.
What the hell, Facebook?
Yeah, trust me. I was like, I'm running a class. I'm going to teach people how to spend tons of money on Facebook. They're like, that's nice.
Yeah.
And Google was like, great, here's $100 for everybody.
Yeah.
So the key, so remember that we're learning essentially 3 different forms of advertising in this 3-hour class. We're learning Google search, which means you use keywords to define your searcher's interest and display them ads that you think are really relevant. We're using Google Display, which means that based on keywords on a page or a specific Macy's.com or home automation experts, they'll display your ad to a relevant user base based on a website that they're on. Facebook is a completely different ballgame. It's based 100% on demographic targeting. So all that little information that you put into Facebook and all the lawsuits, and I'm sure you've all seen Social Network and everyone screaming and yelling about privacy, this is good for you guys because the less privacy people have, the more you can target ads to them. So we're going to start with the less interesting stuff, and then we're going to dive into the really awesome stuff. First, you have to choose, just like in Google, you have to choose a destination for your advertisers. For your searchers. So Facebook gives you a lot of different options. You can send them to, a lot of people send them to a page. So I work for IBM. I never introduced myself, but I'm sorry about that. I'm Eric Morrow. I work for IBM doing digital marketing. And and one of the projects I work on is Smarter Questions. And we can take a quick segue so you can see how awesome my website is. Right, so this is the website I maintain for IBM. There's lots of really awesome information about things that I completely do not understand at all. But lots of people find it very interesting. So we curate all this, and then we run a lot of advertising at it on Facebook and on all sorts of display networks. We don't actually do any search marketing. It's a little too expensive for our purposes. So we run display advertising, we run Facebook advertising. It draws people to this page. But we also have a Facebook page which is in development, which means if you were here, you could see that I have a Smarter Questions Facebook page. So I could send traffic to a page on Facebook, or for you guys, is anyone going to be sending traffic to a page on Facebook, or is everyone going to be sending it off Facebook to an external URL?
You have to set up 2 separate ads. If you
definitely have to set up 2 different ads. I'm just going to assume for the most part that everyone's going to use an external URL. There's actually a little trick, which is if you want to send people to a Facebook page, but you want to track it, you have to send them to like facebook.com/smarterquestions, and then you can put your query strings on it. Otherwise, Facebook doesn't let you do that for an internal page. Okay, that's not really all that relevant. The point is we're going to use a URL here. For my personal purposes, it could be like smarterquestions.org, right? Or it could be whatever. We switched over. Facebook, you can suggest an ad, or you could just go in here and type in your own. So for Facebook, you get 25 characters for your title and 135 characters for your body. Go grab the text that you've already written and throw that in there. If you want to let Facebook decide for you, you click on suggest an ad, and sometimes it's pretty funny, and sometimes it works really well. Let's see what it comes up with. It's going to my site. Well, it's actually not terrible. The body is our tagline. And what we do is we compare IBM to Oracle. Okay, so we're going to put in a title, you're going to put in a body, you're going to choose an image. All right, so I'll choose this image. But you can choose an image from your site, or you can click on upload and just choose an image. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because it's just setting up an ad the exact same way they set it up in Google. What I want to show you is the demographic targeting, because that's what Facebook is all about. So any questions so far on this? No? You guys still alive? Trucking along? All right. You can show stories about people interacting with this page. It's not really that interesting. This is a preview of your ad, right? So this is what my ad will look like. And this little checkbox down here shows that, that someone that you're related to likes the page. So you definitely want that. That's very powerful. Now, the beauty of Facebook. Let me sit down. So right now we're saying that, you see this little box right here, estimated reach?
Wait, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay, sorry.
Okay. Estimated reach, this number is going to start changing as we add information into targeting. So, first you have to decide what countries you want to advertise in. You have to put them all separately, and I don't remember the exact number. I think you can have up to like 15 countries at once. So for my purpose, it will say United States, maybe we'll say United Kingdom, maybe we'll say, I don't know what else is interesting, maybe we'll say Australia, because these people all speak English, right? So now there's 175 million people I can reach. How old do I want them to be? Remember how we were thinking at the beginning of the class, who's my ideal customer, who's searching for my stuff, who wants to buy it? We're going to start putting the information in. People, I would assume that you're going to have to be at least 25 and probably, I don't know, by the time you're 65, you're retired. We'll say 50. So age 25 to 50 for my ads. That means there's now 132 million people. You see how this keeps changing as you start adding more information? Excuse me. You don't want to choose this require exact age match. It'll make your ads more expensive. But what it does is it forces it to be 25 to 50. Right now, it'll be like maybe 23 or maybe 52, depending on their particular interests. Sex, I think both men and women are interested in IT subjects. Now, interest is where it all begins to get interesting. So we have interest you can do by broad or you can do by precise. Now, people who are interested in smarter questions are probably interested in business and technology. But you see how this doesn't get very specific? Maybe it's computer programming, right? So now I'm down to 7 million people. These are the people who will see my ads. But if I want to get more precise than that, I switch to precise interest targeting. And now I could type in all sorts of things. I could type in people who are interested in IBM. You see that's 324,000 people. I could type in people who are interested in Oracle. That's 26,000. What's both annoying and useful about using precise interest is that this is all an OR joinder. So you see how when I started with just IBM, it dropped down to 44,000 people. That means there's 44,000 people who match all these criteria, who live in the United States, United Kingdom, or Australia, between the ages of 25 and 50, and like IBM. But now as I add other demographics in, you see Oracle, for example, this number is going to get bigger, potentially. Or it'll just freeze. Awesome. Okay, you see how this number got bigger? So everything you add in here via interest, it's going to hit people who are interested in IBM, or people who are interested in Oracle, or maybe I could say database, right? Or people who are interested in databases, and it's going to keep building out. Versus if you do the broad category, targeting, if I choose computer programming, for example, now it's 7 million people, and let's say science and technology as well. It went up. These things as well are OR connectors. So now I'm going to reach people who are interested in computer programming or science and technology. But all of them will be between 25 and 50 and living in these 3 countries. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So this is both super powerful and super fun and takes forever, because you really need to think about what your users are doing, right, and how you're going to target them. So let's do a little brainstorming for, does anyone want to do some brainstorming in public with everybody? Okay, let's start. This is actually, Facebook is going to be huge for you, right? And you unfortunately don't get free Facebook credits, huh? But let's say we are targeting, let's start at the beginning. Right, we don't want to care about this anymore. The only country we care about is the United States. But now we can get more specific, right? We can do zip code, city. I imagine for you, zip code could actually be pretty powerful. What's the zip code that you're in?
It would be 11211 and 111.
Sorry, 112,
11211.
like that.
Uh,
Oh, wait, hold on. I have something to say. 11211. Oh, there it goes. Okay, so hold on. Now you see, Facebook thinks 7,240 people live in there. Oh, let's get rid of this. Do we care what age they are, or it could just be any? Okay, Facebook thinks 8,000 people live in this zip code. Who else lives in this zip code? I mean, sorry, what other zip code did you want?
11222.
11222. Okay, so your ads are going to reach 12,000 people. And obviously you can add as many zip codes as you want. You can go by city, and you can say Brooklyn. Oops. Right, and then they think 1.8 million people live in Brooklyn. So it depends how specific you want to get, right? You can get really, 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 really targeted, or you can get really, really broad. Sort of strangely enough, you can only get so targeted because Facebook doesn't want you to actually find one particular person, right? You could say, I'm looking for a man between the age of 29 and 29 who lives in Eric zip code and is interested in digital marketing, and it would be like one person, right? And you're like, awesome, now I can run ads just at Eric. Facebook doesn't let you get that specific, but it lets you get pretty close. We don't have to include cities within 50 miles. Yeah, so 737,000 people live in Brooklyn. We don't care what age they are or what sex they are. You can see if broad category targeting works for you. It's really based, broad is easier if there's a profile that matches, just because you don't have to go through and type in all these little interests, right? So, I don't know, what do you think are any of these things interesting? What are you guys going to be doing there again? Cultural events, right?
Yeah, cultural events, and then cooking might be
Okay.
possible too, because I think there's going to be a culinary training center there.
Right, so maybe cooking or,
Craft.
what is that?
Crafts.
Crafts?
Craft.
Oh, is that on the list? Oh yeah, here we go, crafts. Right, and there's no magic bullet that hits your audience exactly right? You can't just say, people who I want to target, right? That'd be awesome, but you can't do that. What you're doing is you're pulling from Facebook's demographic information. These are people who list in their profiles that they live in Brooklyn and are interested in cooking or do-it-yourself crafts, right? Which is maybe good enough, but you could say, maybe I want to switch to precise, and I want to say community, right, or arts.
Third word.
Yeah, you could, let's see if there are words in there. Boom, 11,000 people like third word, right? So if you were advertising digital marketing classes at Third Ward, you might have chosen this particular thing, because then you would get the community that you're interested in, right? And remember that these are separate things. So you're going to get people who are interested in community or people who are interested in Third Ward, right, and so forth. And then they're going to give you recommendations. These don't really seem all that relevant, but you can keep going, right?
What?
Does it?
Culture and ecosystems.
What else? I mean, what else do you think we might want to type in?
Arts.
Arts. So mixed martial arts. Not exactly what we're looking for. Maybe, well, anyway, arts. All right, so that's nice. And so this number will keep going up as we get more and more people who are interested in that particular thing. This is both the power and the work part of setting up Facebook advertising. You're going to have to go in here, and if you're going to do precise, just keep clicking away and adding more things to it. If you do broad, then just try to find the things that are, are a little bit broader, right? And you might say, well, you know what, I don't really care about all this. The only thing I care about is your geographic location, right? So we would go back in here, type in those zip codes, and just run an ad at everyone who lives in that zip code, right? Maybe that's enough. We don't have to get more precise. On the other hand, if you're interested in jewelry, right, then you probably want to get a little bit more precise, and maybe you want to choose just women, and maybe you want to choose the right age, and so forth. And that's the heart of it. You can get more interesting things depending, or get more granular depending on what you're advertising, right? Let's say you want to run an ad at men who are married and have to buy a present for their wife for Christmas, right? You could, right? Let's see how we would do that.
This would be for like a very specific.
Very, very specific. Exactly, but that's the beauty of Facebook, is that you can now advertise. It is the holiday time, right? So you could say, I only want people who live in Brooklyn. They should be men. They should be the type of people who can afford my jewelry for their girlfriends. They should have people and still be romantic.
You're 60, then like, screw it.
Fuck it. Been with her too long anyway. Right, you could go in here and, I mean, their interests are not going to be jewelry on their page, right? So that's not going to be that helpful. But you could go down here and we could say that they are married or in a relationship and they're interested in women, right? Because men probably aren't buying other men the things that you're selling. I don't know. They might. No judgments, right? If the necklaces you're selling are appealing for men to men, then hell, market to them, right? It doesn't matter to me. But most likely in this example, they're buying it for their girlfriend who really likes pretty bracelets or whatever, and off we go. And now we have 28,000 people who fit that profile, right? And that's awesome because now you can run your ad and say, hey dudes, don't forget your girlfriend this Christmas season. Check out these awesome new bracelets. She'll be sure to love them, right? And we could talk about green energy. Who's interested in green energy? We could go up here. We could say, we want people only in a city.
Yeah, it's like I put it in like 7 states in New York.
Yep.
Illinois, so I just put it in those states.
States. Okay, yeah.
Only in those states I want it. In other states it doesn't work. So.
Perfect. So you put in those states. You type in the right ages.
Yeah.
Probably men and women. And maybe in here, maybe there's some like eco-friendly. Maybe they're interested in the environment.
Yeah.
Right. For example. And depending on what you're advertising on, maybe you have some new jewelry that's like awesome for putting on dog collars, right? Who the hell knows? You could find people who have pets, right? So if you can hit broad category, it's better. I recommend for people, especially at the beginning when they're advertising on Facebook, is don't go too huge, but don't go so granular that you're hitting like 4 people. Because remember that not everyone puts all this information into Facebook. And once you choose interested in women, right? I happen to be interested in women, but I haven't put it on my Facebook profile because I don't want Facebook to know it and it run ads at me, or mostly I'm just lazy. So you would miss me in that particular example, right? And so your ads would miss me even if I happen to be buying jewelry for someone. It would be an interesting thing. So I think it's always a little bit better to go broader. Another reason for that is the click-through rates for Google tend to hover around 2 to 4%, right? So if 1,000 people see your ad, 2 to 4% of those people actually click it. On Facebook, it's 0.04% of the people click your ad, and that's good, right? So it's very, very, very small numbers. So if you only have 14,000 people, and they each see your ad 5 times, you have 60,000 impressions, and your click-through rate is 0.00004. That's like 2 people clicking your ad. It's not going to be very productive. So my tendency is to tell people, go bigger on Facebook, not smaller. Don't go irrelevant, but don't try to get too granular. But you can do anything you want. If you're advertising a really cool Spanish, language pendant or something, that makes sense. If you're selling one that says amor on it, right? Then maybe you want languages they should only speak Spanish, right? And you can get really granular. If you're advertising something that says LSAT courses, right? You probably don't want to grab them if they're in high school. Doesn't make any sense. So we'll grab them while they're in college, or maybe while they're in college or a college grad. If you're advertising green services, green energy service, or maybe there's a really big, school district or fire department, or someone works at Brooklyn Bowl, right? Yeah, you work at Brooklyn Bowl. So maybe people who work at Brooklyn Bowl are really interested in places to go out to eat near Brooklyn Bowl. So you could say, I'm going to run an ad at people who work at Brooklyn Bowl, or any of these things. So there's so many options in here that we can't possibly delve into everything in 30 minutes. But does anyone have any questions on the demographic targeting that we could sort of address more broadly? The most fun thing to do is to impress your friends by trying to find them. Be like, here, I'm going to totally find you. And then you'll get like 8 people. And you're like, there's 8 people just like you on Facebook who live near you or whatever it is. And just play with it because there's so much information. I've been doing it for a year, and it's not even like scratching the surface. Right? You can keep digging, finding all these different interests, finding different ways to target people, running clever ads, right? And running different sales, different things. And it's so cheap, right? It's like 30 cents a click, 40 cents a click, 50 cents a click. And you can see, and zillions of people can see your stuff. So it's pretty powerful.
And this one's way more user-friendly.
I found that I wound up spending like a crap load of money and not really getting anything.
Yeah, that's a very common complaint on Facebook. Because even though the click-through rates are so small, there's so many impressions to get that you can end up spending a lot of money. I think the key is to, once again, get inside the mind of a user. If someone's searching, for example, for wireless home automation solution, that tells you so much about that individual, right? That they're interested at this exact moment in that, and they're probably not just researching it because they thought it was cool for college, right? They probably want to buy something like this. And if you want to buy something, that's a great advertisement to run at somebody. If you're on Facebook, they're looking at pictures of their friend's trip from Guatemala, right? They're not in a buying frame of mind. So what kind of ads do you start running at them? It shouldn't be come here and buy now. It should be like check out what people are doing in home automation. That's so cool, right? And then they would be kind of things that they'll share with their friends, like look at this awesome house that some billionaire set up, and it's got all this awesome stuff in it, right? And then that's sort of so the concept of the marketing funnel, right? People first have to be aware of your brand, and then they're going to research your brand, and then they're going to compare your brand to other people, and then eventually they'll reach a purchasing decision. And sometimes in wireless automation and security, they're in one part of that marketing funnel, right? But if they're just browsing on Facebook, they're not even in your funnel at all, right? So you have to create some content that's really appealing to them. So I think that's why people tend to use the same landing page for Facebook and Google, and that doesn't really make a lot of sense. Right? You want to create something cool for Facebook and something really like driven for Google. So let's just wrap this up with, you can type in a campaign name. Once again, the more descriptive, the better. Set your budget. I would not recommend $50 a day unless you want to be broke really fast. Choose lifetime budget, right? This will allow you, so if you want to run some ads this week so that when we come back next week, you at least have a little bit of experience with Facebook, put in like $25, $50, whatever. That'll buy you so many impressions, and set it as a lifetime budget. It means you won't spend more than that. You can decide when you want to run your campaigns from today. You could say, we'll end it next week. So this is there's impressions versus clicks. CPM, this stands for cost per thousand. You'll see this a lot of times on digital advertising. I would recommend that you guys use suggested bid simple mode, right? And that will take your lifetime budget, which we'll say is $50, for example, and it'll try to maximize the amount of clicks you get for that budget, right? Then you don't have to worry about it.
Wait, what is CPM?
Cost per thousand impressions. So rather than paying per click, you're paying for every time your ad's shown 1,000 times, you pay. It tends to be cheaper per impression, but you can also, since the click-through rates are so low on Facebook, you can end up paying for all these impressions, not getting any clicks. But that just depends on what you're trying to accomplish.
So if you're just trying to bring brand awareness.
If you're just trying to bring brand awareness, it might not be a bad way. The better way to do it, though, is to set a cost per click, and then write ads that don't encourage people to click on them. So rather than saying, click here to learn more about this, be like, home automation is the coolest thing ever, right? And everyone's like, awesome. And then they'll just keep reading, right? But in the back of their head, they'll see your ad once, and they'll see it twice, and they'll see it 10 times. And then when they go on Google eventually and search for wireless home automation, then they'll be further down the marketing funnel, you can grab them. Right? And then what you do is you place your order if you were ready. So this ad doesn't even make any sense anymore, so I'm not going to place it. But, here, actually, I'll just show you what it looks like. Set this for later on so we can cancel it.
Yeah, this screen is different than mine. I have review ad.
Yeah, review ad or place order. You probably can't place your order because you haven't put in a credit card yet.
What's the lowest bid?
They'll tell you. Right, so here it says, based on your target options, Facebook suggests a bid of 68 cents per click. If you set your own bid, you can say max bid like 10 cents, for example. And Google and Facebook will eventually complain because they'll say this. But just what it means is you probably won't get a lot of impressions.
Okay.
Right, we didn't talk at all about like quality score and cost per click and what drives all that. But the easiest thing to remember is Facebook and Google will try to make a lot of money. And if you're not going to give them a lot of money for showing your ad, they're not going to show it. Right? So imagine that you said 50 cents. Imagine you said 50 cents per click and you said $1 per click. They're going to show your ads more, most likely, right? Unless her ads get clicked twice as often. But yeah, we'll talk about optimization next week. Oops, you're done. Good work. Great.
Okay, I don't have that same pricing option.
You don't have to pay for clicks? Yeah. So everyone will probably want to use this. And then if you have a credit card in there, you can place your order. If not, you can click on review and save it for later.
If you review it and keep it in there for a couple weeks, it'll just send us a free credit.
I'm not promising it,
Maybe
but in my experience,
okay.
Facebook tries to move you along. They're like, oh, we noticed you created an ad. Here's a coupon to get started.
I feel like for a while too, they were like sending it out randomly that they were like $75 credit in Facebook. So maybe we Google it to find something.
Yeah, I'd look for you guys to try to find something. You can look. Yeah, you definitely feel free to look. I didn't find much, but hope for the best. If you buy a book, like one of those Facebook advertising books, which if you go into the syllabus, there's a link to one at the end of it. That book includes a credit. It's a $20 book, includes a $25 credit. $25. Yeah, it's always nice to get a little bit of free money to start. And then it'll show your ad, right? And then the name of the ad, what it actually looks like, and so forth. And then as you accumulate impressions, for example, let's see, where does this thing go? Campaigns. I'm just going to get rid of this. What you'll see is something that looks like this, right? And it shows your reach. It's really hard to see on this thing, but this is a slightly different color, right? And it shows how many people clicked on your ads and so on and so forth. This will all be next week when we talk about optimization. All right, we got 6 minutes. Anything in particular, you guys? Yeah, you have a question?
If I don't want to put a credit card in or anything, will it hold this ad for me, or?
It should, yeah.
Okay, so I just did the review ad thing, and then it should.
It'll just be there.
So it's always there.
Yeah, that's my understanding. Is it'll just stay.
So for next week, what should we come prepared with? I mean, what should we be working on this week?
Optimally, everyone starts a campaign, right, in Facebook and in both the Google ones, generates enough impressions that we can look at them. Right? If you're not going to be running advertising, then we'll all look at Rose's. Because she has a company behind her who's actually doing advertising. I unfortunately can't show you the work that I do because it's all highly confidential. And I'm not allowed to show it to people. Which is odd because it's all obviously viewable. But anyway, that's the agreement I signed with IBM, is I don't get to show you the work that I do.
I'm on the Google AdWords. I put my ad group is here, and it says status under review.
Yeah.
So does that mean, what does that mean?
It means that every ad, whether it goes through Facebook or Google, is being reviewed by the Facebook or Google team,
Okay.
which may be a computer or maybe a human being, I don't know. Most of them get approved, but especially as new advertisers, there's a much longer cycle.
Okay.
So it might take a day or two. I mean, in theory, it could take up to a week, although it's really unlikely because no one here is advertising firearms or drugs or booze or.
Oh man.
I know you could, but yeah. Then it'll be a longer review cycle. For advertising green energy, it's not going to trigger very many flags. But as new advertisers, it may take a little longer. Any other questions? I highly recommend that you run some ads, and even if you're taking $50 out of your own pocket or $100 out of your own pocket, well, Google you don't have to worry about because I gave you $100. Run ads, otherwise next week will be super boring, right? Because you won't have any of your own stuff. You won't see your own impressions. You won't see your own clicks. And make sure you put in enough meat that we can look at, that there's something to look at. So on Google, that means make sure you have 10 or 15 keywords, that 5 or 6 different ads or 2 or 3 different ad groups have enough substance that we can optimize, right? Because if you only have one ad or one keyword, we have nothing to compare it to. And the same thing with Facebook. Run 5 or 10 different ads. Set up 5 or 10 different ads right now. What you can do is every time you start a new ad, you can clone it, right? So you see where it says create a similar ad, right? You can clone your ad, so you don't have to go through and do all that demographic stuff again, right? This is what I ran. Learn to advertise. Woo! That's what you guys just did, right? And you can go through here and change those up. Then click save and you get a new ad. All right, we're done.
I just want to.
Do you have a question?
Well, kind of. I just want to navigate away from